This is a wooden battery, which could cut your energy bill in half. This free 5-pound wooden battery holds 8 kilowatt hours of energy. For comparison, it would take 20 400-watt solar panels an hour to capture the same amount of energy. I've been calling it a wooden battery, but you know it as a log. See, a log is not your typical battery with wires and buttons, but it holds a similar power within. You see, trees, through the magic of photosynthesis, convert sunlight into energy and store it in the form of wood. So when you look at a log, you're essentially staring at a reservoir of captured sunlight. Think of it like this. Electricity is the superhero of energy, zipping through wires to power our gadgets and gizmos with a magical touch. But here's the plot twist. Using electricity to warm our homes is like feeding your dog with caviar. It works, but it's kind of overkill and just really expensive. Use different energy sources for different needs. I can't charge my phone directly with a log, I need electricity for that. But electricity and wood could heat my living shelter. But the log is free, so I'll choose that. Because 46% of the average energy bill comes from heating your house alone. So we're going to construct our tiny wood stove and see how effective it is. With the nights being colder and colder, we're so excited that our tiny wood stove has finally arrived. And just as our hopes were getting very high that we'd be heating up the place very soon, things went south.
Uh-oh.
But before we show the misfortunate event that happened, we're going to show y'all the first step that you need to do before installing a wood stove.
Before we can unpack the stove that I'm sitting on top of, we've got to put these 1x4s up on the studs to hold the metal tin roof sheeting. The tin roof sheeting is the metal backsplash to help radiate heat and just provide a clean surface behind the actual stove. After we get up the metal backsplash, we're unpacking this thing.
Having metal as a backsplash for the tiny wood stove keeps things safer, it helps radiate the heat out more in your shelter, and it just looks cool aesthetically.
The floor to ceiling height of the back wall is 77 inches. So we're gonna use these tin snips to cut down the 8-foot long tin sheets to 77 inches to start paneling the back. All right, with the first panel cut, we're gonna mount the first tin roofing panel as the backsplash behind where the wood stove's gonna go. We're gonna get that one centered, then we're gonna cut the other panels down to size, get them up there as well. We're gonna make sure that the middle panel is actually the one that's overlapping the other panels so we can easily pull it off to cut out the area where the wood stove pipe will be leaving the micro cabin.
In total, it took Kimball and Ben about an hour and a half to install the backsplash for the micro wood stove. Once they wrapped it up, it was time to move on to installing the stove.
Uh-oh. I see broken glass. The stove looked like it was packaged really well. There's broken glass around the bottom. It looks like this might have been broken during transit. So we're gonna finish unpacking it to see, I mean, something's obviously broken, but hopefully it's a piece we can easily replace. Okay, that's good. We can easily replace this on our end. We just need the glass piece.
So we found out one of the metal pieces that was packaged on the inside of the stove must have been pressed up against the glass, and that's what made it break. Then this happened to our backup heater. It happened. We lost it. Power's out. It's gonna take us a while to charge back up the battery, which means we're out of heat for quite some time. Ooh, it's cold! 4 cold days later, good news came.
Tiny Wood Stove team, thank you. They sent a replacement glass panel within 4 days. So huge shout out to Tiny Wood Stove team. We're thrilled to have a new glass panel so we can get this build underway.
But unfortunately, the biggest issue was yet to come.
To make the wooden stand for the stove, we're using this plywood that we had left over from the interior of the cabin. We're gonna cut a top 23 by 23 inches. We're gonna cut sides that are 19.5 inches, cut a base, and then work on assembling that box or stand for the wood stove. We want the box to be very sturdy because the wood stove is not light, it's very heavy. So we need some good supports with plywood struts in the middle of the box to make sure it doesn't sag. We're also gonna top the box with either tiles or tin just to keep embers that might pop out of the front of the stove from burning the top of the box. It'll just improve safety and make the aesthetic look really good as well. Now that the mounting box and the stand for the stove are completed, we're gonna assemble the stove and then put it on top of the box. That's the easy part. Then we've got to figure out how all the flue pieces work.
For the last 3 hours, the wood stove has been going through its first burn outside. This is an important step as it seals and sets the manufacturing paint.
Time to look muscular.
With the first burn being done, it's now time to build. So here's a breakdown of how this is going to work. Most people send the flue component straight up through the roof. This is what the Tiny Stove team recommends. But we didn't want to cause permanent damage to our roof by cutting a hole in it. We thought the wall would be more forgiving. And we ended up being totally wrong. We made this far more complicated than it needed to be. If you ever do this, don't do what we did. Go right through the roof like the Tiny Wood Stove team recommends. You're gonna see just how complicated it got for us. We thought it'd be an easy process. First, we'd make a hole in the wall. We'll have to cut a hole in the tin, push the insulation apart, and finally drill out a hole in the wood. Then we could insert a piece called the thimble, which outlines the inner part of the hole with metal. This ensures that the hot metal pipes never come into contact with the insulation, the wood, or the tin. We then add the T-joint on the outside, which will redirect the smoke upwards towards the chimney, and it'll give us an access point we can unscrew in case we ever need to clean anything out. We'll add in the supports, put on the couplings to seal everything up, then we'll connect the stove pipes to the double insulated pipes, and then we're good to go. Or at least we thought.
This is an adjustable component in the flue, which helps us adjust this to wherever the hole is. So rather than cutting the hole with this set all the way down or pulled all the way up, where it won't give us wiggle room going any higher or any lower, we're gonna try to have it somewhere in the middle so our hole could be adjusted if need be using these flue components. This is an insulated pipe. You can see it's got this insulation material to keep the outside from getting nearly as hot as the single wall uninsulated pipe. So double wall insulated pipe, single wall non-insulated pipe. Thimble is going to be mounted roughly here.
Kimball, can we just trace it?
Huh?
Can we just trace it with one of these?
Yeah. Yeah, we can. This is a pretty cool bit. This is for creating different diameter holes in sheet metal. I like it because it looks like the front part of the machine of the Underminer.
Oh, in the Incredibles?
Cue Incredibles clip. I am the Underminer! Move the insulation apart because we don't want the insulation poking into any part of the thimble. And we're gonna need to mark the center of this and drill a hole so we know where to cut on the outside.
With the hole being cut, we then marked up the thimble and cut it to size. It took some serious finagling work to make this fit, but in the end, it ended up looking really good. But our confidence would soon be shattered.
Imagine this piece here, this double-walled insulated pipe, coming out of the thimble in the wall. This piece is the first piece connecting to the adapter connecting to the stove flue. This then connects to this T. This T connects to this lower clean out port where you can clean out any built up creosote or other material inside the flue. This is a stabilizer that supports the entire apparatus attached to the back of the micro cabin. The T is then connected with a double wall clamp onto this longer part of the flue. And then we've got the rain and weather guard at the top that prevents snow and rain from coming in. Finally, we've got this other support to hold this long part of the flue or chimney.
When we got to making the supports, we realized there was going to be an issue, and the only way to fix it was to get some additional 2x4 and install it. The support system needs to be anchored into the studs in the wall, but it's too narrow. But by connecting the horizontal 2x4s to the studs, we now had an area thick enough to drill the support beam into. Once we wrapped up our T-joint area, we finally noticed our big issue.
All right, we're figuring out the wood stove configuration. Tiny Wood Stoves have phenomenal kits. We've been thrilled with the performance of all of the flue pipes, the double wall clamps, all the fittings. The issue has been our rainwater catchment gutter. Our rainwater catchment gutter has protruded farther than we anticipated, so it means we need a longer flue pipe running horizontally. That's an issue for wood stoves. The horizontal run should not be longer than the vertical component going straight up after the horizontal run. You need that to make sure that the draft is flowing upwards. There's lower pressure up top with the hot gases running out of the flue to draw smoke out of your home. If smoke and the other gases build up in your home, it can be a fatal accident. It can actually kill you. So getting the draft working properly in a wood stove is critical. Otherwise, it's a massive safety hazard. The 20-inch piece of horizontal run isn't long enough. We're gonna try to use a longer piece of horizontal run and then just test the stove to see how the draft performs. If you can avoid a wall exit mount, do it. There's a reason the Tiny Wood Stove team tells you, try to go through the roof and avoid long horizontal runs.
So we ended up having to redo a few things and take out the 20-inch horizontal pipe and replace it with the 40-inch. Now we cleared the gutter system, but it also pushed it inside more, which made the inside look a little wonky. This is it, ladies and gentlemen. The moment has come. We're about to find out if this will draft well. Because of the extra horizontal bit that we have right now, we're not sure. But if this drafts, it means it works and everything was installed well. Now that the chimney was put together, all we had to do was put on the flue stabilizer brackets, connect the inside piping to the stove, and then fire it up. With it up and running, it was now time to see if smoke was coming out of the top, to see if this was successful. And to our relief, there it was. We now have free heat for this winter and all the winters to come. If you want to learn more about the affordable and sustainable systems we use, you can now get our first off-grid book ever. It goes over the 50 key steps and systems you need to go off-grid. You can get an ebook, a paperback, a hardback, or an audio version. And if you want to go to the next level, we have a 10-hour off-grid course that covers everything you need to know about this lifestyle. Check out the description of this video to learn more about these resources.